All right, so Mastermind for Asset Mastermind for September 19th. Wanted to kind of go over a little bit about what we look for when evaluating a rental property or any property, actually. So more of a rehab. Um, I guess how you rehab, how you evaluate rehab. Sorry, my words are escaping me today. There's just so much going on. It's been a great couple days bringing on people. So if we were to look at um, how you evaluate a comparable sale property. And I'm going to look at it in terms of valuation of what are competitive market analysis, what are comps in the area. CMAs are a broker thing, an agent thing, but what are the comps? What can we accomplish and what can we find out? And we're going to start with the tool that everyone loves to hate, and they absolutely should, which is Zillow. And I'm going to pick 108 Grove Street, Wilkes-Barre. And wow, you guys can't see this. Okay, I always got to remember to do that. And yippee. So it's up on the thing. There it is. Okay, so whoops, go this one instead actually. So 108 Grove Street, Wilkes-Barre on Zillow. Okay, of course, bad choice. They gives estimate of none. Doesn't matter what it gave for his estimate, Zillow's estimates are always wrong. This one happens to be the right picture. Yeah, the roof looks like crap. This is actually one of my buildings, but and you'll see in the pictures that it's not phenomenal inside. It's reasonable. We kind of covered a little bit yesterday on what you look at when you do rehabs and so forth. But what I wanted to cover is how you use Zillow and other tools. We use Zillow, we use PropStream, and we use the actual MLSs that we're members of. We also have access, through a friend's project with Privy, and they're all good tools. They can all do some good things. Zillow is the worst. Okay. The Zestimate means nothing because the Zestimate is an automated Zillow product. It's basically a cheap version of AI, although I'm sure they didn't build it for cheap. And the reason it doesn't work is because it doesn't know what's foreclosure or what's this. It doesn't know how to dive deep into comps. Comps are all about what has sold in the area for similar value. Now, I'm going to back up here and remind everyone that larger commercial doesn't go really totally by comps. Income properties very often are also not driven as much by comps. Neither are commercial properties. They are a little driven by comps. 1 to 4 units, you're going to look at comparable sales and income value in your rentals. 4 and above, it starts to peter out until you get into the double digits and the upper double digits, 20, 30, 50, 100, when you start actually seeing it really become income valuation over asset valuation, over comparable sales. So you use this tool in reference. I also encourage people that you don't look when you're doing a rental evaluation. You don't say, oh, the comps are $300,000, therefore I can buy it for $300,000 if your rents aren't enough to support the mortgage and the other expenses. So if you're a long-term buy and holder like me, you got to look at it and say, what's my income? Can I afford the rents? Like that. That's kind of where we got to be. So with Zillow, you want to go behind the scenes, behind the pop-up. Wilkes-Barre, PA, and you can even put in Grove Street. And you can even put in the address. You can down your filter as much as you want. And you can draw on the map a specific area. And get your goal on your map is within a half mile within the last 6 months. Sold only. You want to know what things have sold for. The reason that's important is because people can ask whatever the living they want to for a property, but until someone's actually willing to put money on the table and transfer it, it doesn't help you. You want to look at home type. That's another one. This happens to be multifamily. So we don't really care if we're buying a multifamily. What house is sold for is kind of irrelevant. And then you play with the other settings in here, HOA and garages and whatever. You do as much of a filtering as you can. And then you actually have to look. And this is the thing their AI can't do. So sorry. Their AI cannot dive into it and give you. Just make sure I fully went live and we're actually seeing it. Okay, fine. Oh wow, I gotta remember to do this. I gotta. Never mind. I know I gotta do next time. All right, so let me back up to the top line here. Sorry, I don't have my TV screen on above me. That was my mistake. So, backing up to 108 Grove Street, Zillow. Sorry, I thought I was showing you guys this stuff, and it turns out that StreamYard didn't follow the song. So we're going to share this tab. So here is 108 Grove Street thing. So glad I checked. We pop behind the pop-up. You can draw a circle in here as to whatever you want to be within a half mile, you want to be within the last 6 months or a year. You only care about solds because it doesn't matter what someone asks for a property. Yes, over the last few years, sold and asked have really been about the same. That won't be through much longer. The world will go back to normal again where people offer whatever they feel a property's worth, whether or not that's what it's being asked for. So there's that. You can put a price range in if you want, bedroom bathrooms. This is the one that's critical. As I was saying, you want to pick your category that matches, or categories if that's the case. And you want to play with all of the other settings to give yourself as much accuracy as possible. So you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, I have all these. Now, this is the part that Zillow's AI cannot do for Zestimate. It can't open these up. It can't. It can open these up and look at it's a 2 unit, it's a 3 unit, it's a whatever, although their data is actually pretty limited on that. But it can't open it up and tell you picture looks similar to this. This is a similar property to this. Home details. 3 unit multifamily. I'm doing a 2 unit multifamily. Okay. Yeah, they're within a half mile. They're similar square footage, maybe. Mine's a 108 Grove is a 2. This is a 3. That's the difference. And you look at all the other information it provides, owner tools, whatever. And then you click out of that one and you click to the next one. And this is the manual process of it. You have to go through and say, okay, let me look at the home details. Is a multifamily home 2,500 square feet? We don't know anything else about it. Okay, so that number doesn't help us if we don't know anything else about it. So you're going through this process and you're picking and choosing what you think are the comparable units. And then you're making pluses and minuses. 3 bedrooms on this one, 2 bedrooms on that one, garages on this one, no garages on that one, new roof on this one, no new roof on that one. Whatever. And there's a science behind it, but you start to learn the evaluations of what is a better or worse comparable. Obviously, your goal is I'm trying to sell a 3-bedroom house. I'm trying to buy a 3-bedroom house. I want to look at 3-bedroom houses. My 3-bedroom house has a garage. The other 3-bedroom house doesn't. My 3-bedroom house has 14.2 acres. The other one has 7.2 acres. It can get very complicated because then you have to look at, okay, what's the value of an acre in that area? Is it a subdividable acre? Is it a buildable acre? It can get very complicated. But really, when we're as investors looking at what to do and how to do our numbers, we're staying very often much simpler. We're saying, okay, 240 is what it's going to be worth in, okay, of course I picked the one that doesn't actually have any pictures. 252 is a 3-unit that looks like this. Pretty nice. And it doesn't give rental information on Zillow, but then you go back to the other, it's a 2-unit, it looks pretty nice, and it rents for this. And you play that game. And it's not a game, there's a science to it. We can go into that deeper in other classes, but you play that game of what is the comp. You then play the game of, my property currently is worth, it looks like this. My property currently looks pretty average and dumpy, honestly. I'll pull up my own property and pick on it. This is what it looked like when we listed it. All right, not horrible, not great, nothing special. My pictures kind of sucked, but okay, it's average, but it could use some work. It doesn't gleam in any which way. And then we compare it to this property, which comparatively, bluntly, kind of gleams. Kind of hard to tell in a small picture, but yeah. All right, so in order to make my property into that property, like we were saying yesterday, you are renting the property based on its condition. And if you're basing your math on a property that's renting that's in better condition, you have to take into account the rehabs. So I rented Grove Street. It looked a lot like this when I got it back on the market as a rental. I invested from this look a chunk of money to bring it from this to this. So if this is worth $252,000 and it's going to cost me $30,000 to get it to this, then if I was buying the exact same property, 222, maybe a little lower because I want some equity for my sweat. So this is how you value property. It gets a little bit complicated. But at the very basic, you're looking at what have similar things sold to my property and what have things sold in finished condition to my property. Good example is I'm pulling up a different property. That's why you don't see anything right at this moment. I'm listing this property here, and we don't have a lot of pictures, and there's a complicated reason why, but we'll just go with that for now. So this property, this condition, which has no interior pictures, but they're pretty average 80s interior pictures, is for sale for $160-something thousand. A neighbor, completely finished condition, similar shape, sold for $330,000. So I say, okay, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to sell for 300. I'm a flipper. I got to be done for 70%, like we discussed yesterday in the spreadsheet. I got to be done for 70%. So I'm going to sell for 300. I got to be done for 250, 225, something like that. Okay, well, if I'm going to buy it for 160, 225 gives me 60 grand to fix it. I can probably do that. I can't probably do that, whatever your feeling is. So you're looking at, do I have any comps that are looking like this? And then you're looking at, what are my comps when I finish a flip? I advised a lady yesterday that was looking at a deal, and it was, finished value of 600,000. She's buying it for 250. It's going to cost about another 150 to fix it. And I looked at him like, that's a deal all day long, assuming you're right on your numbers. And then we flipped to income. I first said, okay, are you going to make it on your appraisal numbers? Because it was a 4-unit, it was legitimate. Okay. Then we flipped to income, and I said, okay, on income valuation, we ran the income valuation numbers and it still worked. But I started with the easy one. I started with, okay, 600, 2/3 of 600 is 400. 400 minus the 150 she says is her repair cost is 250. The ask is 250. Okay, we're all swimming in the same pool. We're all okay. Then we go deeper. Then we start looking. We start analyzing the rental incomes. We start analyzing the demand in the area. We start analyzing every other little thing about the deal to make sure that it made sense. Including in her case, she wanted to add a fourth unit to what is currently a 3-unit. So I added questions like, will the town let you? Have you got the off-street parking? Because if you don't have the off-street parking, the town probably won't let you. Will that trigger sprinkler systems? Because now many communities, if you go above 2 units, they want sprinklers. If you're an existing 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, they might not require them. But if you're like, oh, I'm a 3-unit and I'm adding a 4th unit, that's when they're going to sit back and say, oh, great, you want to add a 4th unit? We want you to add a sprinkler. And for those that are not had the pleasure of doing a sprinkler system on a residential, not only are you running the sprinklers throughout the building, but if you follow the logic back on sprinklers, the water has to come from somewhere. If you've got a 3/4 inch line coming in your building for your average, home or small multi-unit water service, you're not running a sprinkler system off a 3/4 inch line. It's just not going to be enough volume of water in when it needs it. So you look at all these things when you're looking at property. And to recap, I apologize, I kind of had on the wrong screen. But what I wanted to cover today, and I'm going to jump back to StreamYard now, and I'm going to just take this off the map. What I wanted to cover today was how you use basic tools for comparable values. Okay, so we've shown Zillow. Kind of lame. I don't like it. I'll use it in a pinch because sometimes the softwares don't do other things. But, and I'm actually took it out there because I'm going to put a share screen on that's sharing my entire screen because I'm just tired of losing you guys and I switch screens and it doesn't follow me. So now we go to PropStream, which is, there's PropStream, there's Privy, there's Deal Machine, there's Driving for Dollars. There's a lot of good apps out there. I'm not entirely sure that I'm a fan of. PropStream is everyone's go-to. I don't like their interface, but whatever. So with PropStream, I put in an address, and of course it comes up with that. And this is my property, and these are the properties around it. Now, it shows you a lot of very good, useful information. I can pick on PropStream all I want, but they do provide a lot of data. Estimated equity negative $188,000. That's part of a portfolio loan where we owe like $500,000, and it's, I don't know what's giving that math, but anyway. We bought it down here, it dropped for a little bit, and then it came up here. So we're good. You go to comparables. And this is where you have some different choices. Flip comps, neighbors, public record, MLS, both. I like both. I like comparables. That's where I start. And then you have what various things, and you can sort here. What you're getting from PropStream that you're not getting from Zillow is a little more data source access, because they do have MLS and public record. A little more analysis quality. Zillow is obviously aimed at the consumer. That's Zillow's home base, is the consumer. PropStream's home base is the real estate investor. So it's a little more sophisticated. You can do a little more tricks. You can look at date ranges and square footage. This is much more of a professional analysis tool. But you have the same problem. You now have to do several things. You have to look at the streets. First of all, you have to draw your little map, so you're only doing a half-mile circle. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to look at the streets. Okay, well, Sanborn Street is probably a half-mile away, but it's not as good of a recognized neighborhood as growth. Look, it's a very basic market. There's not a lot of variation, but Sanborn is a little tougher, but more importantly, a little poorer than Grove Street. Not that anything around here is wealthy. And then you want to look at, you got some pictures. Let's look at some pictures. All right, let's play with some picture time. Yippee! That's not a very helpful picture. I'm really kind of disappointed in that picture. Thanks, guys. But no, that's not a helpful picture at all. You also look at the date, July of 22. Thanks, guys, but July of 22 doesn't really get me where I need to be. And you go through the process like that. Now, of course, I've gotten myself lost. Flip comps of 17. And you look at the pictures in the fair. I just wish I'd picked a better version of it. Purchase amount. And this is the other thing I don't like about is that it I did the same sort twice and it didn't come up with the same answer twice. So you look at the pictures, you look at the acres, you do more data searching here. It is a manual process, and you can get to the point where, I know the neighborhood, I know the area, I would scan and say, no, I know the 125s and whatever are not going to apply. I'm going to be 195. I might even be a little north of that. I think it's assessed or rather appraised at 220. So there you go. And that's the art of it. There are several good comping softwares out there. There's Privy, there's a bunch of them, and they all have their pros. You definitely want to learn comping, and I don't cover in depth how to do these things. We can have that conversation separately. I do cover it over time, over the course of the year. But I mostly wanted to introduce you to how to do it quickly and how to get an idea and why Zillow doesn't help you. Because so many people say, well, the Zestimate's 250. That's why I'm that's why I'm asking 230. Okay, the Zestimate's a guess. I've got a bit of a chip to grind with Zillow. But if they were good at this Zestimate stuff, they wouldn't have been run out of the We Buy Houses market in about 90 days. So anyway, that's today's lesson. Just a little bit of a dip onto how to do comps. We are going to start next week with a Wednesday afternoon after the Wednesday half hour. We're going to be online for a half hour if anyone wants to just leave their mic open and ask any questions. Also, we're going to start the weekly workshops the week after. So we're really trying to add some stuff here. Please, if you haven't already joined the online community, please do so. I sent invitations, I think, to everyone. If you didn't get them, let me know because I've been a little bit distracted lately. But we do have an online community that you guys are the only ones in there. It's only the Asset Mastermind folks that are in there. And this is where 24/7 you have access to us and you can ask us questions and you can go from there. Anyway, any questions, do message me, Steve Franco on Facebook or through the system or whatever. That's great. I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you so much.